What is up, guys? Welcome to the Transparency. It is a Sunday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Not sure where you are. It may be a lot later, maybe earlier. But thank you for being here. Tonight, we're going to recap just a couple points that Ann Taylor made. They've been making all along. And basically, what's going on? What's up? Judge. I think he said it best. He doesn't really have anything to say. He doesn't know what to say. That sums it up, though. He doesn't know what to say. So how can we help him out? Let's see. Well, let's go like this. To show you guys something, and here we go.
We focus on that. We're working on that, but we are required to begin our mitigation case. That's what
I put Ann Taylor here at 1.25 speed, just because. I had her at 1.5, but
we are to put on mitigation. We are guided by the ABA standards, American Bar Association standards, in capital cases. It's been ongoing for 13 months almost as well. We have not been sitting back and waiting. Your Honor, in this case, the complexity has been ongoing for 13 months almost as well. We have not been sitting back and waiting. Your Honor, in this case, the complexities are that there are special areas of focus. And when we get to trial, counsel for the state will put on experts to educate the jury on specific areas of focus, as will we. And it takes a while to get all of that done. In addition to that, this court knows everything is recorded. There's digital footprints all over the place. And so we have a lot of records that we have to go through. I know that the court has heard about 51 terabytes of information that we've received. And I want to...
Ann Taylor wanted to break down just how much 51 terabytes is. And I think she did a really good job about it. There's a shit ton of information, 51 terabytes. I think she did a really good job of pointing that out. So I do want to say that 51 terabytes is a shit ton, like a shit ton, right? And the state and law enforcement had 120 officers on this case. 120 officers. Ann Taylor has herself, Bryan Kohberger, if he is involved in his defense, Jay, and then down in the bottom right-hand corner, that's one of the defense attorneys. On the left-hand bottom corner, that is one of the prosecuting attorneys. So that's it. That's who she has, and that investigator to go through all of this material.
I want to tell you what that means. Miss Massa found a statistic for me, and I want to...
That's the bottom right-hand girl is who she's saying found this statistic for her.
Tell you how much 51 terabytes of data is. And she found that. She was looking at Dropbox.com. And 51 terabytes of our discovery, to put it in perspective, 1 terabyte can hold 250,000 pictures. 1 terabyte. And we have 51 of those. Or 500 hours of high-definition video. And we just have one of those. So 500 hours times 51, or 6.5 million document pages. And that's equal to 1,300 filing cabinets. And we have 51 terabytes.
1,300 filing cabinets. 1,300 filing cabinets. You guys, I love numbers. I said, holy shit. I mean, you think it's a lot, but it's a lot. And now, I took a day, because I am going to also talk about, there is no trial date that was picked, right? He's not going to go, Judge says, I'm not going to go out and set a trial date that's like so far out, like 2025. He makes that comment. Well, basically, the state wants I was about to say a summer wedding. Shit. A lot of people want summer weddings, but the state wants a summer trial. Okay. So Ann Taylor's like saying, you guys, only reason she was saying summer of 2025 is because y'all want that summer trial. But there is no way in hell, how can we go to trial this summer, okay, when we don't even have shit? It took Judge a month for him to go through the DNA, the IgG stuff, for him to make a decision. It took him a month to do that. A month. I thought it was rather fucking hilarious when he says, well, do I need to make like dates? Like, shorter, that you only have so much time to get X, Y, and Z, in or whatever. And I'm thinking, dude, you took a month to look to see if something should be turned over to the defense. You took a month just on that.
Right, it's not just one. So that's a lot. There's specialized knowledge. There's a lot to go through in this case. We also have another.
Now, Ann Taylor and co. believe that, and they've made it known a couple different times when they've used a certain language to say that there was a sheath placed under, Maddie Mogen's body or next to. And we're going to get even more into that based on what Mr. and Mrs. Gonsalves said in a recent interview, or if it wasn't as recent, if it was leaked, or more information came about it than before. At the end of the day, there was stuff that was put out by Good Morning America. And it talks about the position of Kaylee's body. And something that's interesting about that, with now that sheath and where it was placed, like I said, we'll come back to that. But bottom line is that you have to search through a bunch of shit that's not organized in order to have a proper defense. If you're going with a third-party culpability defense in something that you believe could be so backwards, as you're talking about corruption, right? Somebody being framed. Who's doing the framing, though? When was this frame job picked to, was it Bryan Kohberger was picked before the murders happened or after the murders happened? But at the end of the day, you have to go through that material to be able to prove X, Y, and Z. And the biggest thing you're going to try to prove is that the time of the crime wasn't when they're saying the time of crime was. That's what you're going to try to, I would hope do. But if you think that they're just going to highlight where that is, you're insane. Like that's not how that works. I've been going through literally hours upon hours of surveillance cameras. Okay, because I'm trying to find, with what I'm doing, I'm trying to find a car. I'm trying to find a Honda Pilot. Based on when somebody said that they arrived somewhere when they left. And I'm going through numerous surveillance cameras at those times to show on all the different camera angles if that person is telling the truth. Is their car being seen on the cameras? You have 18 different cameras. I'm going through that hour of time per camera. That's a shit ton, and you're sitting there like after a couple hours, you're starting to see double. It takes a lot of time. And so I think that not only do they have to how big is this team? Like I said, they had 120 agents were on this case. And then there was the gag order.
Player in the case, and that's the presence of the media. This is a case that has drawn a ton of attention from the media, and it continues to do so, and I don't think that's stopping anytime soon. The impact of that is that we have found that when we want to talk to witnesses, sometimes they don't want anything to do with us. Sometimes they're people that have already talked to the media too much, and so we shouldn't talk to them or bring them into the case. So that's just a complication. We're working through it.
That's interesting right there. That some people that they might want to talk to, because of the media, these people aren't willing to talk to them, and or that they're too involved with the media, that they're nervous to bring them in on the case. You guys know what they mean by that right there? I've been covering this case for since it's happened, right? So how could I be, oh, hey, let me look through all of your discovery. I'm part of the media. I think this gag order is for shit.
Around it, but that's something that the court has to be aware of. I want to let the court know
they can depose whoever they want. They can start deposing people.
There are over 400 potential witnesses in the innocence phase alone.
Ann Taylor is saying that there is a potential 400 witnesses. 400 witnesses. Who the fuck are these witnesses? Oh, look at me going 400. Meanwhile, the parents couldn't even get talked to.
I personally and my team have talked to less than 10%, well, less than 10% of those.
Well, less than 10%. Do you know what 10% of 400 is? That's 40. 40 people. 40 people.
Witnesses.
Hell yeah.
In the mitigation phase, our mitigation expert has been actively working the case. We've all been working alongside our mitigation expert. There are still well over 100 people left to try to contact and try to interview. And let me back up and explain.
Summer my ass.
We are to learn Bryan's life story. We are to go all the way back to before he was born and learn.
Okay, they need to learn Bryan's life story. Okay. And they need to go all the way back before he was born. Why? Because of, do you think it has anything to do with this whole genetic genealogy? Because I do. Why would you need to go back and to know everything about Bryan's life before Bryan was born in this case? Think about that. Well, I want to know if Grandpa is his real grandpa. I mean, it's his real grandpa, but is it his biological grandpa? You know what I'm saying? But why would they need to go back and know anything about Bryan Kohberger's fucking family tree, basically, in a sense, right? That's what she's saying. Well, why? Because it was a huge factor in this case, right?
His life story. We have to be prepared to talk about that in different ways.
We have to be prepared to talk about that in different ways. Do you know what that means, guys? Like, she's giving us something here. We have to be prepared to talk about that in different ways. They're going to be prepared to show that, I'm telling you, I said it a couple months back. I said, whoops, we got a little bit of a problem here. I don't think Bryan's grandpa is his biological grandpa. So, you know, like what's up? Now, wouldn't that mean a lot more unknown variables? And I was told it's it'll be interesting. But why would that have anything to do with this kid? Why would she even be saying that? Like, is it because we're trying to see if he got the serial killer gene? No. Do you guys believe in that, by the way, serial killer gene?
It's not just a life story. We're required to go 3 generations back on each side, mom and dad.
Whoa, right there. She says it. It's not just his life story. We're required to go 3 generations back, mom's side and dad's side. Why do you guys think that they have to do that? They would never, nobody's doing that in a regular, case, right? Why would you need to know all about my grandparents? Because of the death penalty, AT said. Maybe. But I think she's alluding to something else here. And everybody's right to their opinions. And what I see her saying right here is that because of the evidence that you guys are presenting, that's why. How you got to Bryan Kohberger. How did you get to Bryan Kohberger?
The court can imagine that there are a lot of documents that must be collected and examined and reviewed so that we are aware of things that we would need to present
6 weeks
to our jury if we ever got to that phase. We have had a lot of trouble collecting documents. Sometimes it takes a court order to get documents. Sometimes documents are missing. Sometimes they're very old and you have to piece things together. We're working through it, but I want the court to know.
Now that was interesting right there when she says sometimes they're very old. Sometimes they're very old. What documents are very old? This is still my number one when what does she mean by that? So I'm still thinking about that one right there, but so think about that, what she just said there. She's talking about the discovery, and sometimes we're not getting stuff. Sometimes things are old. I was like, wait, what? So
no, it takes some time for that as well. There are records yet to be obtained that we need in both sides. There are still experts yet to be hired that we need to find an expert that has the right expertise and will work on the case with us. We do have several, we're working with them, but there are still more that need to be found. And then let's come back to the discovery. I want to talk about some of the difficulties with discovery, and I want everybody to know that I am not disparaging the state when I say this. I'm describing a complication, a challenge, probably one that the state shares.
Give it here. I want the discovery.
In this case, we began asking for supplemental discovery in February of 2023.
Told you this was coming.
We had some initial discovery, and then we started looking at it and asking for other discovery. We are up to our 11th request for discovery, and there's, I think, 250 items total with subparts to that. The state will.
Okay, so what I think she's saying there is that they're asking for 250 additional things, okay? And I don't know if she's talking about that it's been over the course of all the 11 supplementals that it's been 250, or if there's still 250 outstanding, like meaning to date we still don't have 250 items that they know that we've requested. So she's right. When you read a report and you find and someone says, oh, my notes are slim because I had my body cam on and my dash cam was on. And please refer to those for, the exact information on whatever I talked to that person about. Then you go and you realize, wait, where's this dash cam? Where's this body cam that this officer was wearing? Okay. You found the report, but you don't have the dash cam and the body cam. But it's because I read that report that I even know that exists, right? Instead of them just turning it over, you would think that it would be in the same file folder as that interview. No.
Respond to us. They're not ignoring us. I'm not saying that at all. There's just a lot out there. But this is complicated because the discovery that we receive, the materials, there's videos, there's interviews, there's police reports, there's photographs, 13,000 photographs that come in.
13,000 photographs. Okay, so what I've noticed in how ISP does their work is each person that they've ever interviewed. This is how, again, this is ISP in my experience with what ISP does. And ISP handled the majority of this stuff. They truly did. That's the team that came in to do the forensic, the investigative forensic team that went in there to process the scene. That was all ISP. So what I've noticed that they do, from my experience, is that whoever they interview, whatever would have come from that interview, if there's a police report, if there's a body cam, if it's a dash cam, if you supplied them with text messages, screenshots, things like that, it would all be in under that name. So if the name was Bob Smith, you go to click on him, in your hard drive or on your little thumb drive. Well, in their cases, God, I don't even know what they're dealing with. But you click on that name, and then there'd be like, interview in this date. So everything like that. But what I also noticed is that local law enforcement will supply their reports that they've generated, or if they've done an interview and they say that they write in the report that they've turned it over to the lead. And in this case, let's say that it was ISP, or and then I go and I would look and, for example, Jennifer Drake was interviewed by Kootenai County Sheriff's Department detective the following day after her husband's murder. Kootenai County Sheriff's Office and Department and dispatch, that they said that they went ahead and they turned that over where there was a body cam and a dash cam. And well, ISP only has the police report. And then in the police report, you could find out that there was a dash cam and a body cam. And this would have been the first interview that ever happened. And you're telling me that it's not in discovery? So when you look at this case, and I can only imagine if they're only getting police reports, and then where are these body cams? And then she says, then we start having all these interviews, but nothing is labeled. Nothing is labeled. So then you got to trust, like, okay, let's see if the body cam has the time and the date and the timestamp of everything. But then you realize that officer had been, at that location multiple times that day that she talks about. So you're then organizing and trying to piece together, again, if the body cam has the accurate time. Okay, here, let's put this all in chronological order. So you get this discovery, and then you have to put it in some type of order. And I can only imagine when you're talking about the volume that she's talking about. I mean, who the fuck is doing this? Who's organizing this? What paralegals are working on this? There has to be paralegals that are working on this.
And they are not indexed. So you get a discovery file, and there's tons of subfiles. And I believe this is the way the state's getting it too. And I believe this is complicated because we have multiple law enforcement entities that have been working on the case. And I believe they filter discovery through one of the entities, and then it gets to the prosecutor. And I think they're hurrying as fast as they can to get the discovery to us. So I think they're giving it to us as they get it. But there's no indexing in it. So you must open each of those files and see what you have. And you might have police reports in sequence, and then you might not. And you might have photographs, but you don't know which officer took them. You can tell where they are, but you don't know which officer, and you don't know what day, because the officers were in that residence multiple times. So that's complicated to try to match all of those things up.
Okay, so check this out. I believe that these officers were taking pictures with their cell phones. I believe that anybody and everybody that was in that house was before that the investigators from ISP came in to do like their stuff. I believe that, because then I went back and checked how a different crime, how they handled it, and the same thing happened. These officers whip out their fucking cell phones, and they're just taking pictures of and running recordings with their personal cell phones, so it's a recording, video, and then it's also pictures. And then I can only imagine that you're trying to submit that shit. How are you submitting that? Like, wow. Just wow. And the only reason I say it is because I've seen it. It's nuts.
Things that we've asked for that it's just taken a long time. The court knows we've had motions to compel, and we've had some pretty lively debates about certain things that we should have and certain things that they don't want us to have for other reasons. Those things take time as well. We don't have complete discovery. I don't.
Ann Taylor just basically took Willis's words. Those things take time. Those things take time. We're asking you guys to be patient. Those things take time. Remember all that? Hey guys, it's not like CSI. It's not like this is one episode. Like, dude, you're going to get we're going to find out who did it in an hour. These things take time. Our lab, our blah. These things take time.
think the state has complete discovery, but we definitely don't have complete discovery. I'll give you a couple of examples. There is a video that's a really important video, and we early on received some of it.
Okay. You guys, turn it up. Grandpa style. Turn it up right here. She says, I'm going to give you a couple examples. And here, Ann Taylor starts with the number one thing, which is we received a important video, but just a partial video. So listen to this again. How in the world you could have a partial video? I pay attention. I want to hear how she words this.
There are things that we've asked for that it's just taken a long time. The court knows we've had motions to compel, and we've had some pretty lively debates about certain things that we should have and certain things that they don't want us to have for other reasons. Those things take time as well. We don't have complete discovery. I don't think the state has complete discovery, but we definitely don't have complete discovery. I'll give you a couple of examples. There is a video that's a really important video, and we early on received some of it. And we are still waiting for the complete of it. The court would know from our 11th discovery request that there's still outstanding portions of that video that we need to have. And I think the state's working through it, trying to match up video and sound together for the completion, the full several days worth of video. But there's not even an estimated day when we'll get that. And that is critical for us to review and hear all of that. So that's
okay. She said they're trying to match up sound with the video. What video to match up sound and video? What video? How can you only have partial? What part are you holding back that you haven't given them? You guys understand this? The fuck are you talking about? Like, you understand this would all be on a thumb drive. Like this one particular video, all of it would be, here's this thumb drive. It was downloaded, DVR, we pulled it, it's all on here. So how in the world are you only giving some of it when you have all of it? How are you, what portion of it did you only give, and what have you kept back? Okay. Now, people out there, they're going anywhere from saying, oh, it could be a Ring camera, it could be Linda Lane. I don't give a fuck what it is. I've never heard of being supplied with something that would come whole. I would feel that you broke it up somehow as to why I wouldn't be receiving it whole. How did you get it from the residential person or the business or whoever supplied you this? How was it given to you? That's how I would want. I want it the way that you got it, right? Then if you went ahead and did whatever with a tech guy to do X, Y, and Z, right? Then if you're going to be submitting that and whatever, then okay, I'll take that. But I would want it exactly how you obtained it from whoever is the person that you got it from. And I would want to know that person, and I would be interviewing them to ask them specifically how they turned it over. Normally people just get search warrants for the actual hardware, and we're taking everything the fuck out of there, you know? So again, all of this, just hearing that there's a very important video that we only have parts of, and they want to get audio matched up with the video. What? Think about it. Well, I want to know if it has to do with the thud from the PCA. Think about the PCA, guys. That's, what video had the thud and the dog barking at 4:17, right? I don't think Linda Lane had that. Where's that video? Think about the PCA. Okay. But I don't, at the end of the day, to me, it doesn't even matter what video it is. How is there only how are you only supplying partial? Like, what the fuck? And then when you give me the other parts, is it like in the middle of it? Like, is it just, was it, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. That this wouldn't be, and that Bill's over there just like Bill, are you looking at the same shit that we're looking at? So do you have it like that? No, this is the only way that we have it too. So who the fuck has it in the right manner? Like who has all of it? Clearly there's important parts that are missing, and that's where the problem is lying, is like, what are you talking about? Where is this? Oh, I don't know why you didn't get that copy. You know what I mean? Oh, here, let me see if we can get you the copy that you need. What? That's not how that works. That's not how that works. That's just not how it works.
That's an example, Your Honor, that is not us saying we just don't want to go to trial, we just want to drag our feet. That is us saying there are critical things that we don't have. I am very concerned about expert reports. We have a draft of one, the CAST report. The court had ordered that we receive the CAST report. It's a draft. I don't think the state has it. I don't think they're sitting back on it, but I don't have that yet. And there are completed materials all over the place like that we just don't have. Our team speaks with the prosecution team fairly regularly about these issues. We communicate by text and by email about things like this that are coming up. We've sat down and spoken with them. They're very open to talking to us, but this just isn't a closed deal. There has to be a deadline on discovery. There has to be a target date where that ends. And then there has to be time to make sure that we've read every piece of it, watched all the videos, looked at all of the photographs, and know where they came from. A few months from now is not a sufficient amount of time to do that. There is no possible way I can even read or watch everything I have now or react to things that are still coming in if we're to have a deadline in time for a summer of 2024 trial. There is no possible way that I would be effective in my investigation, in my presentation to a jury, if I don't have the state's expert materials ready to give to my experts and then give them a report to respond to.
How in the world can Bill Thompson say that he is ready to go to trial? They're ready. The state is ready, and she doesn't have any of this. It'd be one thing if, listen, they have everything. Remember what he was saying in those other hearings? He's like, I don't know. She just thinks that there's stuff here, and oh my God, there's just not. We don't have it. Like he was just like going on about like she thinks that there's stuff that, but I don't have it. You know, he's just like. So how can the state say that they are ready to go to trial? And Ann Taylor is right here saying, I don't even have your experts. What your experts going to be testifying to, who they are, what they're for, what their background is. I don't have any of that. We have drafts. We don't. And I think it was very telling because if Ann Taylor was lying or making this up or exaggerating it, I don't believe that Bill Thompson stands up and is like, yeah, no, she's right. Your Honor, I don't think he's going to be agreeing with her the way that he did. I mean, he barely says anything other than, yeah, there's a lot of material. Like, you think?
There is no way that I am effective assistance counsel if I haven't looked at every bit of discovery that's available. Recently, Your Honor, as recently as January 4th, we received discovery that contained over 9,000 tips that law enforcement.
They just received another batch of tips, 9,000 tips. So all you cop callers out there that call for no fucking reason to say that you saw some fucking white Honda Elantra, it's smashed up in Oregon, and I think you need to go look at it again, or whatever the fuck y'all are sending in, that there would be another batch of 9,000 tips January 4th. Like, what in the F? Literally what in the app. And then I will tell you this. If there are people that are purposely calling in and doing that and to fuck with the defense, because again, you'd have to go through everything as a defense attorney. Because damn well the state ain't going through. They already have like their shit. But do you have those trolls out there that are trolling the tip line? Because I have no idea what the hell I think all tips should be public. I think that it should be like the next day, like they do with the logs. I think that the tips that come in should all be blasted. So you can go and look through the tips. Now tell me you couldn't make a reality show out of that shit. But who's ever calling these tip lines is 9,000. I think that should all be public. When it comes to murder, when it comes to homicides, this, okay, anonymous tip bullshit. Well, how about this? When your tip doesn't fucking pan out and you're anonymous, we put you on blast. Fuck that. I need to say anonymous. Well, your life better be on the line. I don't want to say anonymous because I want to talk about some dog that just got let out and is running through the fucking streets and, but that's bullshit. And the only reason I say this is because of how many fucking trolls, like people that have no fucking lives. They're miserable and they want everybody else to be miserable too.
Had obtained.
There's 19,000.
This is a new issue, I think.
What I meant to say there is there's 19,000. I believe there was 19,000 tips, and that was by the time that Bryan Kohberger was arrested. There was 19,000. So if you're telling me that there was another 9,000 that came in, yeah, I think there's a shit ton. I think that once they went ahead and put out, and this is why I think it's so important to ask ourselves, why in the fuck would they be asking for our help and using a stock photo, the public, and saying a 2011, 2013, and then when the year changed, they never made that change. But here they asked for our help after already identifying Bryan Kohberger, his vehicle, and all that shit. Now, do you now want to go back? Remember how I said, I believe that they could have been trying to flood the tip line on purpose, flood out the other tips that would be coming in, let these tips drown it out, drown your actual ones that maybe matter, But why in the world are you asking for the public's help to go look for a fucking vehicle that isn't the year? And that when you heard from the FBI to say we're going to switch this year or widen whatever they did, what the fuck? I'm sorry, but that shit pisses me off. And so I say, this is Tina with the fuck translation services. What the fuck are y'all doing? But to me, it looked like a tactic to flood the tip line because and I think that I think that they should make all these tips public. I would love to see all this shit. Oh yeah, here I'm taking a picture of this white Honda Elantra that I just saw in fucking Arizona. Well, I was just driving around, like I want to know who the person is that wrote on Reddit or wherever the fuck it was, saying that the killer was just chilling up in the Poconos. Who was that? Who wrote that? On I think it was Reddit. Because that's where Bryan was, chilling in the Poconos. Crazy, huh?
Courts heard about this before. We've had bits and pieces of tips, and they've come in and we've reviewed them. But the 9,000 new ones we received January 4th, those were closed out in October of 2023.
Oh my God. Those were closed out in October of 2023. Okay. Here you go. Here's 9,000. You would think that they would be in some type of order if people are needing to email. Okay, like whenever you have a website and you could do like a contact form and you write in whatever, and somebody sends you an email because, like, let's say they want to bitch about eating at your restaurant and oh my God, it was so awful or whatever. It comes in the timestamp, the date, all of this stuff. So how in the world are you not able? I mean, do you guys not know who are your secretaries? All of those would just be like, downloaded each day and put into a folder, a file folder, right? And then like the next day it'd be all that came in, boom, that's a new folder with that date. I mean, what the fuck? How can you have these tips not in an order? How can Bill Thompson seriously get up and say to the world that no, they didn't, they didn't receive them like that either. Like, well, no wonder y'all fucking can't find anything, can't do anything, because you have no organizational skills. But I find that hard to believe that you wouldn't just each day, okay, these are the ones that all came in, highlight them all, put them in a file folder of your emails. Boom, there you go. That's that date. Then the next date, and then that would all be downloaded, and here you go. I mean, but yet we can have apps that can locate us on the drop of a dime, but we don't have anybody. We don't have a system to put the tips in order. Get the fuck out of here. And if y'all want me to believe that, I'll be dead before I believe that. And I think that there's probably an app that let's go make an app for the FBI because clearly they need it to organize their tips.
Don't think the state sat on them. I think that's an example of the process that they close them out so they can give them to us, but they go through other agencies before they get in the prosecutor's hands to give to us. I have to read every one of those 9,000 tips. There are things that matter to us in our innocence phase that have come up and been done, and I have to read them and appreciate them and react to them and see what's there. That's the duty I owe to Bryan. That's his right for effective assistance of counsel.
Brian, yeah, say his name. I thought that was pretty interesting that she did say Brian. You know, not my client, not Mr. Kohberger. Brian.
Summer of 2024, it's impossible for us to do it. Our team constantly meets. We constantly work. We are on this. This is our priority. Brian's our priority, but we are not going to be ready in June 2024.
No fucking way.
Your Honor,
the state isn't ready. Amen, Ann.
Also talk about some of the other deadlines. One of the things in the state's motion for scheduling order had to do with the alibi defense. And as the court remembers, we had made some submissions and we needed more information before we could do anything more complete.
Oh no!
We're still in that circumstance. But when the court vacated its scheduling order last fall, that was part of the scheduling order that was vacated. So the state asserts in its scheduling order that our time has expired, and that just can't be because the court didn't carve that out and say, I'm going to vacate everything but this. So we'll need a new date, but I'd ask the court to be really mindful of the other information we need. We need the CAST report. We need other information of things that CAST agents and other specialists with the FBI might have done with cell towers and records. And I don't have all of those yet. I have some. And the state has pointed me to places that they believe I have more that maybe I missed in the discovery, and I'll look at those. But I'm going to need some time to do that. I wanted to let the court know as well, because the court's going to be considering a scheduling deadline for 12B motions. I want us to have a clear picture before we have that deadline. And the clear picture that I'm concerned about is the state's pathway of how Bryan Kohberger comes to their attention and is identified.
You guys, this is fucking unbelievable. Can I get a clear pathway on how they came to Bryan Kohberger? Like, do you understand that means that nobody that she's come across in listening to any interviews has said the name fucking Bryan Kohberger? You understand that? Oh, we bring it in our lives. This is unreal.
I've read that PC affidavit over and over and over again, and I'm not sure. Over a year into this case and everything I've read, and I've spoken with our team, we're not sure how the state decides on Bryan Kohberger. I know different pieces, but I don't know where they fit together. Okay. And the more work I do, the less I know about how they fit together.
Oh, shit! The more work I do, the less I know how they fit together. Y'all hear this shit? Do y'all fucking hear this shit? If you think she's fucking lying, then give her fucking some props, because how is she lying like this, right? And you would think that Bill's taking these notes, and you would think that he would stand up and afterwards say, well, Anne, I don't know if English is not your first language. What do you mean you can't fucking understand? You know what I mean? The fucking PCA. No, we can't understand the PCA because, like I said, it's on my thumbnail. Ann Taylor thinks that your PCA is fucking bullshit. Your PCA doesn't, your PCA doesn't, hell my God, it's Bryan Kohberger. No, the only thing that you got is you have a placed sheath that when you tested the DNA, that when you did the IgG, what you worked, and you're not even supposed to be doing that yet. So your fucky way led you to my client. Okay. So I want to know what came first. And the only way that I think that she would know this, and I think that she may already have this, is the dates of these reports. But I'm over here. I'm going to back myself up. Look at my face. Look at my, I'm pausing myself at like the most ridiculous times. And I'm not even doing it on purpose. But you guys know when you guys ride the roller coasters and you're like, when you were little and you're like, you know, going down the big old slopes and your hands would be up or whatever. This is what it looks like. But watch this. Here's Kermit the Frog moment that I do. I like to point out when I have. Here we go. Let's check it out.
That was part of the scheduling order.
Focus over here to the
vacated.
left.
So the state asserts in its scheduling order that our time has expired, and that just can't be because the court didn't carve that out and say, I'm going to vacate everything but this. So we'll need a new date. But I'd ask the court to be really mindful of the other information we need. We need the CAST report. We need other information of things that CAST agents and other specialists with the FBI might have done with cell towers and records. And I don't have all of those yet. I have some. And the state has pointed me to places that they believe I have more that maybe I missed in the discovery, and I'll look at those. But I'm going to need some time to do that.
Here we go.
I wanted to let the court know as well, because the court's going to be considering a scheduling deadline for 12B motions. I want us to have a clear picture before we have that deadline. And the clear picture that I'm concerned about is the state's pathway of how Bryan Kohberger comes to their attention and is identified. I've read that PC affidavit over and over and over again, and I'm not sure. Over a year into this case and everything I've read, and I've spoken with our team, we're not sure how the state decides on Bryan Kohberger. I know different pieces, but I don't know where they fit together. Okay. And the more work I do, the less I know about.
That is going on my new intro. That by far is probably the best moment Truth and Transparency has ever had on, you know, this channel. Because that's all I've been preaching. I said, how the fuck are you going to say that a car that just drops down in the middle of the fucking world and lands on Indiana or what was it? Indian Hills Drive Trail, or the fuck it is. How are you putting that and saying that that's Bryan Kohberger? You just can't do that. You can't just say a car in the middle of the road is his. Like, there's no identity. What? And he, excuse me? Yeah, so right there, that's my Kermit Froggy. I showed Jax, and he said it was the best thing he's ever seen too. So
state's pathway of how Bryan Kohberger comes to their attention and is identified. I've read that PC affidavit over and over and over again, and I'm not sure. Over a year into this case and everything I've read, and I've spoken with our team, we're not sure how the state decides on Bryan Kohberger. I know different pieces, but I don't know where they fit together. Okay. And the more work I do, the less I know about how they fit together. And that is critical for us to assess 12B motions. So while the court's doing deadlines for discovery, I need the court to have something with the 12B keyed on when I have full discovery. I also think it would be appropriate for the court to allow windows to file additional motions based on later disclosed materials too. I think we'll just keep getting materials until the court sets a deadline for it to be cut off. Not anybody's fault, just the magnitude of the case. And so I think that would be something appropriate for the court to set as well.
Judge is sitting there literally. And Taylor be rocking that backseat right now. Really, like he is just.
Question. So sure. I understand this. I mean, I'm aware
You don't understand.
amount.
You don't understand. Lana. You don't understand.
Disclosures already.
She stays standing. I love it. You stay standing.
But do we need a whole nother year after this summer?
That's what the fuck you have to say?
Can I?
You guys, do we need a whole nother year? She's not saying she's a whole nother year. Y'all want that summer wedding, man. You want the summer case trial. You do. So Ann Taylor only says, well, then it would have to be the summer of 2025 because we cannot go to trial this summer. There's no way. And so, like, and why are you asking her? Do you think, why aren't you asking Bill? Do you really think we don't even have everything? We don't have everything. And I'm still over here before we're going to go laying dates down. I need a clear picture on what is the state saying on how they got to Mr. Kohberger. She still is like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Now, do you think that you guys can say it's tactics, it's and stalling, or this is what every defense attorney does, and blah, blah, blah. Well, I want you to go back and check when you've seen a defense attorney say, me and my team, we've put it in motions. We basically are implying that you place the sheath. And we're over here saying, we've read this PCA over and over and over, and we have the copious amounts of discovery that we do have. And we don't understand how the state said that this is their man. Like, what that tells me is, how do you plan on proving this? How are you planning on telling your story at trial to then get a jury to say that this is Bryan Kohberger that murdered 4 students, right? Because I want to go back and tell my client, Brian, look at, they have your fucking car. Your license plate. They have you walking out of the car. They have you walking into the house, like that type of shit. Or they have you physically at the house during the murder, or when they think the murder is, none of it. The PCA is it a theory? But normally you have proof with a PCA that you're going to provide. If you don't want to say that, well, it's just enough to get the arrest. Okay. Well, here a year, like she said, and some change, and we don't understand. We need it laid out before, and we need this clear so that she can begin these other motions. You guys think that's wild? And then he has nothing to say about that. All he wants to know is, so we can't have a summer trial? Not like, I mean, have you read the PCA, Judge?
Help everybody by having tighter deadlines to make things happen faster so that we can get this trial sooner?
I think she's in shock what he said. No, Your Honor, this week.
That's a tough question. If I
Thank you. That's a tough question. Tighter. If we had some tighter deadlines, what the fuck? They can't even make the ones that they have now. It took you a month to look at the DNA. What the fuck are you talking about? Tighter deadlines. You're just rocking in your chair, but it took you a month to look and decide, okay, this is what they can have out of the IgG stuff. A month. That was like 1% of a month. Wow.
If the state says you have everything, and I believe they could say I have everything they have, but I know there's other things out there. I know it based on responses to discovery.
Thank you.
If I had absolutely everything, all their experts' reports, I would still need a period of time to read and understand that. there's not a shortcut for the amount of time that it takes to go through everything.
That's
There's just not a shortcut
great.
for that. Having
Awesome
a deadline
answer.
for discovery helps.
Awesome answer, because there is no shortcut. You guys, you understand when you're going through body cams or you're going through surveillance, especially surveillance, okay? If somebody hands me, because they want to have the time of the crime at this time, well, I want I want everything, because I want to see what I can find that can prove that the time of the crime didn't happen then. That's what I did in the Drake case. I said, I want all the stuff before, because I believe at the time of the crime is before, like by at least 30 minutes, if not 40. And you have to go. There's no shortcutting and going and tracking down all these people's thing. Like you can't. There's no such thing as a shortcut with that. You physically have to watch every single piece of the surveillance camera or whatever camera that you're looking at. If it's a body cam, a dash cam, surveillance from someone's house. And if you think there's a shortcut to that, then you're going to fucking lose, because you need to be able to tell yourself, I went through that. I could not find that car, whatever the case may be whatever you're looking for. Especially if I want to look through and see if anybody walked out of there, AKA if I could find on the next door neighbor's cam. Oh, wait, there it is. Look at Dylan. Dylan said she was there. And look at I see Dylan walking around. It's stuff like that. You want to be able to go and find, after you hear somebody's, their statements, their interviews, then you're going and looking to be able to disprove what they're saying. Okay. Like, that takes time to go through all of that. Especially if it's all a big bunch of lies, Judge?
It just does. Having a deadline for expert disclosures, that absolutely helps me as well. I have the concerns of discovery that's not yet made available. I have the concerns of the time it takes to review all of the materials. And I have the concerns about the limitations we're finding with people being willing to talk to us, both for the innocence phase and the mitigation phase, should we ever get there. I have significant concerns. We're working on it. If you could say, everything's going to go according to plan. I'm going to give you these deadlines, and all of the materials will be in the state's hands so they can give them to you. And the records you need will be given to you when you ask. And the witnesses that you need to speak with won't slam the door in your face. If you could tell me that, then I would say I could be ready by March of 2025. And that's me saying I'm going to spend every possible hour on Mr. Kohberger's case, which I've been doing and which I'm willing to continue to do, and so is the rest of his team. But my problem is that's best case scenario if we don't run into problems and delays getting records or getting people to talk to us. And if the next calls I make.
So she's talking about, she's saying, yeah, the best I could do would be like March of 2025.
On the experts that I don't have yet secured, if they say yes and they're ready to go and have time to take it on. That's best case scenario.
Oh.
I'm nervous telling you I'll be ready by summer of 2025. I'm nervous.
2025. The death penalty case,
This is
2025.
priority for everybody.
That's normal.
And, I want to be realistic.
You said it's
about it.
complicated.
I want to set it more than once. I only want to have one trial, one time, so it doesn't come back. We can only predict the future so much. And we have so much power. So I'm relying on counsel.
Let them.
So let's go to Mr. Thompson and see what you have to say about all this.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, Bill, what you got to say
things
now?
ready for trial.
By the way, Bill Thompson, if you guys did not know, he was playing with his band last night. I did post a video if you guys want to see it. It's as good as TMZ could ever provide you guys with. If you guys would like me to just play it right now, I can do that as well for you guys. Maybe I should just do that. But yep, Bill Thompson letting loose, doing a little bit of Eric Clapton. Oh my God, was that really him? Yes, that was him. He's the lead singer guitarist of his band, girl. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. You guys didn't see it? Come on now. I put out those good shorts. I rarely do them. Oh, shit.
Ms. Taylor is not understating the amount of work that's involved in this case, Judge.
120
I
people you
think
had.
that's fair to say, and there's more information that continues to be developed. You know, it's kind of like you ask one question, you get an answer, and that leads to another question. I know that Ms. Taylor and her co-counsel and investigators are encountering that. We are trying to provide things as quickly as we can, and she's right. There are delays in with the multiple agencies getting everything together. The tips, for example, were part of a nationwide
He did not say tits. He said tips.
tip line that needed to be completely shut down before we could get all the tips that were in it. And so that's why it took so long with these 9,000. I didn't count them, but there are thousands and thousands of tips.
I didn't count them. Did you go through them? I didn't count them. We just passed them along.
Most of which are out there, but
But you guys, he said most of which are out there. Like the tips are just out there. Like, geez. And that's why, guys, it would be the best reality show if these tips could be revealed. Fucking redact all these people's names. I don't give a shit. I want to just see the tips. I want to read these tips. And I'm telling you, it would probably be priceless to read these tips, to have somebody read them to you. Because back in the Chris Watts case, when I was going through some of the discovery, I came across a woman that emailed in and said that she was partially blind. And that is why, if this isn't making any sense, or if it's like a bunch of typos, understand that she can't see that well and she can't type that well. And so she proceeds then to talk about this woman being a total fucking whore, and that she thinks that she was sleeping with Chris Watts. And that they were using the calculator app. But that tip is what led to the calculator app being even found. But I read that tip out loud, and I couldn't get through it. I was laughing because then she emailed back again to say, oh, I forgot to tell you that I'm partially blind, and I can't even read when I'm like, I can't even see the keyboard when I'm writing it, and blah, blah, blah. I'll have to go dig out my notes and find that one, and I want to post it. But I can only imagine what these tips say. I can only fucking imagine. He just said they're just out there. They're just wild. Most of which that are out there.
All of which need to be looked at to see if they have any potential relevance to the case. As I indicated to the court, if we cannot have a trial this summer, then I would say the earliest would be the summer of next year, for the reasons that I've described to the court about the practicalities of carrying on a trial of that duration with high school, with universities. We need to be realistic about being sure that we can get our witnesses here. We'll have some time with them. That there won't be undue interruptions in the community that can cause issues.
She set the trap.
And trial proceedings.
I was shocked there that Bill Thompson, I do believe that he fell into a trap. I do believe that they knew that they wanted that summer trial, and they're listing those reasons. So how can you go and you say that you want this summer trial, and then how can it possibly be before then that next summer that's available? Anne comes back with the fact that she's going to be filing to move the trial, change of venue, and then they all just basically, their hearts were broken because let me just tell you guys that I think they want a summer trial. They can say that it's for like the traffic reasons and the kids with conflicts or whatever. You guys, that in the summer, that town is dead. If there's a summer trial, there'd be a lot of revenue being brought to that town, a lot of money. And so I think this is just another greedy move financially. They can say it's for traffic flow. Get the fuck out of here. When have you ever When have you ever heard of anything like this? We have to consider when people are in school, out of school. Like, that's insanity, man. I just never heard that. I've never heard of somebody truly orally arguing that we need to have a summer trial. And I have no words for that. I have no words for that. But in the summertime, I look at it this way. What you're basically telling me is that you can't have a trial. You guys aren't, we should not have our trial in Moscow, Idaho, because of the reasons that you listed. Okay. If that means that we have to wait until 2025, okay, to have the trial. And then let's say that we can't have the trial in 2025. Okay. Then what happens? We don't have it until the summer of 2026. Are you guys seeing what's about to happen here? What should be said right now is that Moscow, Idaho can't, it's like the Olympic, we can't host the Olympics. Certain people can't host the Olympics. Certain people can't host the World Cup. Certain people we can't host a trial that's not, it's going to be drawing all of this extra traffic. We can't do it unless it's in the summer. And I don't think that's fair to the families. That's the type of stuff that they should be saying. And they should just be saying that this needs to be changed. You can't sit here and tell me there's no parking available when you have when I see Coomer Scott Green going to where the football team has for the tailgating, and all those people and Coomer Scott Green's doing the shots with the students where they have all those big ass trailers and RVs and shit like that. There's plenty of parking. So I have no idea. They can be out there in that same lot that they're tailgating for fucking sporting events, right? All I hear is excuses here on why they want it to be in the summer. I also think that would take possibly the younger people out of being in the jury pool. I wouldn't want that if I was on the defense. I would want, if people leave for the summer, if you're registered to vote, right, you're on it. Like, it's all about the money. It's all about bringing revenue to the school, to this area during the summer when it's dead, when they're not making any money. Period. And it's just crazy. That's crazy to me. And God forbid, if things weren't ready to go in the summer of 2025, then you're going to be sitting there saying, well, now we have to wait till the summer of 2026. And I just think I wanted to actually be in Moscow. I do. But I think that Judge should step in and say that, sorry, but we're not going to schedule a trial around fucking the school year schedule or anything to do with that. That's not what this is about. I actually have no words for that argument. I think it's fucking insane. I think you look like a total fucking idiot making that argument. And I think it just goes to show what this town's all about, what these people are all about. And it's all about money, man. But in a fucked up way. Trust me, businesses, when you run a business and you have a business, it is about money, right? But you can just go about things completely different. And they don't even try to like hide it just a little bit. There's just no shame in their game about the money aspect. And their argument on like where it would be if it wasn't in Moscow, I think, like I said, I think it should stay there. I just don't think that it have anything to do with that it has to be in the summer. I think that's insane. Because I've been there. They have fucking parked those fucking cars in the band field. Park people. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I think that the kids should be in school when it's going on. I think that those law students should go and sit in that fucking courtroom, get themselves some watch some of that shit. To be honest, it's a big law school, right? I don't know. Just the thought about if I was a parent, I'd be calling up the prosecutor and saying, "Are you fucking kidding me right now? You're deciding when our trial is based on not what is best for the case, but what is best for what? What is best for the town's traffic flow?" Oh my God. Based on the middle school and the high school, excuse me? That doesn't even make any sense.
I'm not quite sure what else I can offer.
I'm not sure what else I can offer. Like, he says one sentence. He doesn't, all the things that Ann Taylor was saying, he has nothing to rebut. Hotel capacity. Yeah, like I said, they have plenty of hotel. They have, who do you think's all coming in for this? Who's all coming in for this? Who do they think is coming in for this? Because what's her tits? Nancy Grace is going to have her own pop-up table. There's plenty of places to stay that you don't have to stay in Moscow. You can stay in Pullman. You can stay. This is just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Especially, there's not going to be the traffic flow that they think if this is televised, right? If this is televised in this type of a capacity right here, then there's not going to be nowhere near as much. But I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that this would be their argument here. But what's worse is that she just spoke for a running on like 20 some minutes about like what's been going on in the case and where they stand. And he doesn't say shit. He doesn't say a word about anything to do with the case. Like, well, I've gone over it numerous times with Miss Taylor on how we got to Bryan Kohberger. I mean, just nothing. Or like, the PCA is really well written and it's very clear on how we got to Bryan Kohberger. Just, I want to hear some oral arguing of, like, you know, she brought it and he says, "I really don't have anything to say." That's what he says. I don't have anything more to say. And then Judge is just like, what the fuck? Now you put me in this horrible position. Because then you're basically agreeing that this should be a 2025 summer case, like a trial.
Earliest would be the summer of next year, for the reasons that I've described to the court about the practicalities
Trying to
of
save
carrying
it,
on
stay
the
here.
trial, that duration.
And I do think that was his way of trying to save it to stay here, because of already how he just argued it. That was what I was trying to say, that they set the trap. Anne set the trap because she knew what he was going to say about that this has to be in the summer. Okay, well, there's no way that it can be this summer. And then he doesn't want to budge on, because he's already made his stance on that we have to have it in the summer because of all the reasons that he listed, you know. Well, then we're looking at the summer of 2025. But it's like, wait, so does Anne have now a hell of a does Anne have a better chance of getting it actually moved based on the fact that the prosecutor is saying that there is only a June, July, August, like a 3-month window to possibly have this, and if we aren't in that, then it would automatically be kicked to then the next summer. So I think that they almost orally argued themselves out of hosting this case because of the window that they want to have the case, and say that they can only have the case. But as far as where people would say that it would be moved to, I don't know. I mean, I would like a couple of Daves on the jury, a couple of the Daves, knowing and about the drugs, and what was going on. around, the time of like leading up to the murders, what was going on back over there on King and Queen. I don't know where you would move this. Where Coeur d'Alene? Would you move it to Cooney County? Like I said, I wanted to stay in Moscow. I really do. Especially if it's true that if any of these grand jury members were asking for more, if those statements are true, it's pretty interesting. I think there should be people on. I think that this should have at least one college student on the jury. Bryan Kohberger should be tried amongst his peers, right? I don't know. I would being 80, working on a farm your whole life, that's not my peer. If you're Bryan Kohberger, get some heroin addicts up in there, get some strippers on that bench, or on the jury, and then get some a couple mad scientists. I'm just saying, I'd want to be tried by, get a couple gays on there, get a couple straights. Can you just start asking those questions? Put a janitor on there. Ask anybody how they feel about their DNA being tested. If you have OnlyFans, I want somebody with OnlyFans on there. Yeah, definitely some incels. Get a couple incels on that jury. I have a feeling that I don't know. I want to be there when they're doing voir dire. I want to hear these questions. I want to be there for that. Is that public? Is that open to the public? Oh shit. Would you keep Enon on your trial, like on your jury, or would you use your challenge, or you'd be like, I'm using my challenge out. Oh shit.
High school, with universities, we need to be realistic about being sure that we can get our witnesses here. We'll have something to put them.
Wait, I was laughing at that. What do you mean you need to make sure that you can have your witnesses here? What in the actual fuck? You're subpoenaing your witnesses. Don't you think that your witnesses would be there during the school year? Like they're already there. Like, who are these witnesses? Who are these? Okay, so and when it's their time to testify, like, so you fly them in. You fly them. I just. How would the summer make it any better? Because these people are already probably going to be graduated. They have jobs. It's not like they have the summer off anymore. If these were college kids at that point, because they're not college kids anymore, they have jobs, so they work in the summer.
That there won't be undue interruptions in the community that cause
She set the
issues.
trap. She set the trap, and they took it.
Proceedings. I'm not quite sure what else I can offer.
You're making some kind of argument that changing venue, but I know we're not arguing about that.
And I don't.
You hear that? It seems like you're making some type of argument about change of venue. What? No, he's just mumbling.
I think that's your changing thing, Judge. When this case has national, if not international, attention. This spring I was at Association of Council of Counties board meeting in McCall, and there was more news every morning from Boise on this case than we see up here. Every doggone morning.
He's trying to save it.
Friends in this community who have traveled to Mexico, and they.
He's got friends going to Mexico. Who are they? Did they bring back anything for you? they're just this is so stupid. But I think that they just took a little because of the things that Bill Thompson said in this. I believe that Ann Taylor would have a better chance than she did before to move the trial. Like I said, I'm just speechless. This is just ridiculous for the families. I don't fuck shit. This is and I think Judge is just so unrealistic. Like, yeah, I want to get this thing on the road. Like, I only wanted like just one, one and done. Like, I only want to have one trial. Okay, then do it right, But I would have told Bill Thompson to sit down and you're going to figure it out. If we can have sporting events, if we can have parents weekend where all these parents come to fucking town and hang out for a weekend, like what the fuck? This is the stupidest argument I've ever heard. And Judge should go back and rewatch this and truly say to himself, the fuck is this guy doing? Like, he came in there saying that we have to have a summer trial. Well, I would be like, well, that's not going to happen. So are you saying that we can't try the case here? And there's going to be nothing more okay, then we need to move it. So do you want it to be in Moscow or not? Because we're not going to just go around your stupid summer fucking schedule. It's so stupid. Absolutely fucking stupid. If you can have fucking tailgating and have all this going on for football and basketball, there's plenty of just, I want to know who they're expecting. Who are they expecting to? I think by having it in the summer, it's going to be even more crowded, to be honest. People go, hey, I got some vacation time. Let's go, to Moscow and kick it there for a week or two. There's just going to be like the bigger days when Bethany's taking the stand and it's Dylan's time to take the stand. That's going to be a packed room. I'll tell you this, I will be in there. Like, I'll be pitching a tent with JLR and I'll just tell him to move over. I'm right here pitching my tent. But yeah, he had nothing to say though about anything that had to do with the case. He just talked about the fucking traffic flow. So and he needs to get that off of his mind because Judge should be saying, hey, I think if it's going to be, televised, then we're not going to have what you think. If the media is not fighting over like the camera in the courtroom and they're just going to have their, booth studio, blah, blah, blah. And they're one person on the, there. I think that, like I said, I don't even fucking have any words. No words. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be camping out with JLR. And if he doesn't let me camp out, I'm going to pour Gatorade all over his tent. Maybe pop to make it sticky. But at the end of the day, the families are really looking to hear a schedule go out, and that just didn't happen.
They say people who were from Moscow.
Now they're scrambling to keep it. Now they're scrambling to keep the case.
It's not Moscow. Lodgings aren't very good as far as a lot of lodging. But
okay, listen to this lodging.
Your Honor, in fact, we already have a fairly comprehensive draft juror questionnaire to send out so that the court and counsel can assess the level of knowledge and the feelings of the potential jury pool. But we think that we at least owe Latah County, the people of Latah County, the attempt to see the jury here first, and not just rely on. There's been a lot of publicity. There's been a lot of publicity everywhere.
I would agree with that.
There wasn't publicity. Is in Lewis County. Somebody was talking to a court down there, and they happened to mention co-rotation. Said, "What are you talking about? So if we want to change venue, I guess we could go to Nez Perce.
Kind of small.
It's kind of small. Lodgings aren't very good as far as a lot of lodging. But I think that is a practical observation on this case. It's not just here. It's not just Moscow. It's not just Lake Charles County.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. So you're saying, looking at this realistically,
They both say.
the amount of information, evidence, non-evidence, that might be looking at summer of 2025?
I'm saying that could be where we end up, Judge. I am still concerned about the victims and their families.
I thought this was
they
going to
have
happen so
suffered
quickly. Get
for
the fuck
well
up
over
out
a
of
year
here.
now with a lot of uncertainty. And that's
I thought he was just ready to go, right? Ready to go. Remember at the beginning, like, hey, we're ready. The state's ready. Now, boom, at the end, right here, he's saying, yeah, that's how I can see it going. Excuse me. Like, you just contradicted yours. Like, what? You said you were ready to go. You're ready to go. Now, you're not ready to go, right? Takes two to tango. So if the defense doesn't have their shit because you're not giving them their shit because you don't even have it yet because the police and these other agencies and whoever has whatever that she's asking for isn't giving it to you, how can you say that you are ready to go in a summer of 2024 trial? Because you're not, because right here you say that's what it's looking like. So that's what it was, 40 minutes when this started, right? Okay, yeah. Because how could you just in 40 minutes say, and that's how quickly you just agreed with Ann Taylor. He didn't argue at all about it needing to be done and ready to go this summer and saying, no, Miss Taylor, we've given you everything. I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but we've given you everything. No, he didn't even talk at all about the discovery because he knows Ann Taylor doesn't have the shit. He doesn't have the shit. So I don't know. But then he went out partying it up.
That's painful. It's an everyday reminder. And they need some certainty and they need some closure in a timely fashion. But we know we also have to make sure, as Your Honor just said a few minutes ago, that we only do this case once.
Yeah, but what was the argument
That
before?
it doesn't come back on appeal.
We
It
can't
doesn't
send
come
this to the
back
Supreme Court because
or
why?
subsequent things saying that
Fucking get out of here.
somebody made a mistake. We want to do it right. And the factors are in front of Your Honor. I think that you're certainly in a good position to make the best decision.
What a kiss ass.
It's a decision that pulls me in two different.
I appreciate that, Judge.
Yeah. I'm upset right now. I mean, I'd like to get a little closer with discovery.
Did he say I'm upset right now?
It's a decision that pulls me in two.
I'm saying that could be where we end up, Judge. I am still concerned about the victims and their families.
I thought this was
they
going to
have
happen so
suffered
quickly. Get
for
the
well
fuck up
over
out
a
of
year
here.
now with a lot of uncertainty. And that's painful in front of Your Honor. I think that you're certainly in a good position to make the best decision.
It's a decision that pulls me in two different.
I appreciate that, Judge.
Yeah.
It's a decision that pulls me in two different, and then he okay. Now he says what?
I'm upset right now. I mean, I'd like to get a little closer with discovery and see if we can have that more quickly. I'd like to speed it up if it's possible. I'd really like to do this.
You took a
sooner than
month
later.
to look over the deed.
Maybe
You took a month.
March 2025, which Taylor, that would be a reach.
During March Madness. Let's do it. Get the fuck out of
I
here.
just want to let it percolate a little bit. I know everybody probably here, including
Percolate?
counsel, want to direct a certain date. But when you're talking about a date so long in the future, potentially,
They do this all the
maybe
time.
we can get to a point where we can move it more quickly. I'm not going to just let it hang for too long, but it's really hard for me right now to set something in 2025, even though that might be just the reality.
No, the reality is what she just told you. That's the
I
reality.
know that there's lots of other issues to be addressed. I know there are going to be a lot of motions
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of motions about the death penalty as well.
Yeah. So how is he?
So
She's giving
It's-
herself and her client.
I'm realizing to think that we have to have a case so far in the future.
Mm.
If that's what is the right thing for everything, to do it correctly.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, there it is. So yeah, I. He wants to have this in March. She also said that this is not like a 6-week trial. This is more like a 16-week trial. So again, make yourself known. Rounding this out, again, Ann Taylor making it known and Bill Thompson doing nothing about it. How did you guys get to my clients? We're still, I mean, every time we read the PCA and we do more work, we get less and less and less. Like, we thought it was whack in the beginning, but now the more we work on this case, the PCA is complete fucking trash. And like I said, I don't think that she's just saying that. And if she was, I think that Bill Thompson would have a response to it, and he doesn't. He doesn't say shit. And maybe he's just not showing his hand. I don't know. Maybe he forgot that that's what she was talking about. I don't know. It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. Perk, perk, perk. You guys remember that song? So we have the Super Bowl is set, by the way, and it will be the 49ers and the Chiefs. Two teams that Joe Montana played for. I will be rooting for Travis Kelce and the Swifties. But before we leave, I want you guys to take a look at this. Lana, can we expect more coverage from you on this case? Right now you can. Right now you can. But I would like to share something with you guys. I'll be covering tomorrow the Kansas City 3. I did the whole layout of the house, kind of like what I did with Dylan, to pinpoint, that I said, hey, this girl's bedroom was on the second floor. And everybody was like, you're crazy. PCA comes out. Lana, you're right. So I'm doing a breakdown of the Kansas City 3 home and some interesting facts on the actual owner of the home, when the home was bought, the fifth person, and yeah. So join me tomorrow with that. Oh wait, I gotta go to my short. There we go. Where is it? There we go. And I want to share this with you guys now on our way out. Let me see if this shared right. Oh, God, okay.
Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door.
There you go. There's Bill. Bill was jamming out with his band last night. He was literally cutting a rug. The only thing that would have been better was if Coomer Scott Green would have been there. I wanted him and Gabriella to be cutting a rug. But I ordered a drink and had it paid for it over the phone and had it sent to him. Not sure if he took it. I wouldn't probably take it because people be spiking drinks nowadays. But I sent him one of the food drinks on the menu. That way, But I personally think that it's important to be balanced in life. And I think after that hearing, I would have to let loose as well. So that is Bill Thompson. So those of you guys that don't think that that's Bill Thompson, that is 100% Bill Thompson. And he is one of the singers, and he's a bass player. So, but yeah, I was trying to get Cameron Scott Green cutting up a rug. I couldn't get it though. But if you guys didn't know that is Bill Thompson, and him and his band, they play. I got another video from the summer. They were playing at some festival or something back in the day. So backseat Bill, but on the weekends he is bass Bill. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
It's time for the percolator. 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 It's time for the percolator.
Shit.
It's time.
Oh shit.